We are live on YouTube. So again, good morning and welcome to Ideas That Matter. We will start in another 45 seconds sharp, Vivek. So if you allow me, Vivek, should we start?
Please.
Wonderful. So good morning, teachers. Good morning, everyone from Patiala. What a beautiful town it is. All you lovely people. My name is Atul Khosla, and I welcome you to Ideas That Matter, series of webinars by Shoolini University, Kasole Hills, Himachal Pradesh. Around 3 months ago, Vivek and I thought about giving back to the community, starting a platform for sharing ideas, and hopefully in the process, inspiring all of you and inspiring your students. And that's how Ideas That Matter started. It started something very, very small. And as we speak today, we are almost touching 100 episodes. We have touched more than 100,000 school teachers, touched schools way up to Bengal and Gujarat. And it's been a phenomenal journey so far. I have with me today Mr. Vivek Atray, ex-IAS officer. I call him the inspiration behind the IT Park of Chandigarh. Thank you for that, Vivek, for giving that to us. Chandigarh is now known for the IT Park apart from other things. He's a TEDx speaker, a motivational speaker, for me, a very dear friend, and also my advisor and a professor at Shoolini University. My name is Atul Khosla. I am the founder of Shoolini University. I teach now at Shoolini and the Pro-Vice Chancellor there. Quick background, I'm a BTech from IIT Kanpur, an MBA post that, and then spent 20 years across different countries of the world consulting when the teaching bug hit me and I came back and started teaching full time. It's my pleasure to be here today, to be with all of you and to be with Vivek, who's going to take us through a very charming discussion on finding success within. Vivek is also author of the book, Finding Success Within, and I would encourage all of you to read this absolutely stellar book. So Vivek, over to you, and the format for the participants is going to be a 30-minute talk by Vivek. I will come in between a couple of times, and we will really request you to ask questions, comment on the comment box, and we'd love to pick up all your questions and your comments. Over to you, Vivek, Mr. Vivek Atray.
Thank you very much, Professor Atul Khosla. Always a pleasure to be with you on webinars, and it's great to be connected with you and with the team, Shikha, Kamal, everyone. And very happy to be speaking to the Aurobindo School today. And the teachers, I believe there are already about 45 panelists online and watching. So very good to see you all and know that you are there. It is a rainy morning in Chandigarh, and as Atul said, it's not yet raining in Shoolini University campus, but it's a beautiful campus. He will show you a video later. You will enjoy that. And it is time for us to talk about success. And he introduced me very kindly, as always. I have had a career in the IAS. I resigned from the IAS, and I became a motivational speaker. And after becoming a motivational speaker, I do webinars nowadays with the lockdown, but otherwise I travel all over India to speak. And Shoolini University, I go frequently to speak to the children, the students, and meet the faculty, and of course the management, Professor Khosla, who is the Vice Chancellor, and Atul Khosla, who is the Pro-Vice Chancellor, and everyone else. So it's a great tie-up and very interesting developments. This Ideas That Matter series has reached out to hundreds of schools and thousands of teachers and parents and children also at times. So it is a series where we normally talk to teachers and try to inspire them and help them in whatever they are facing. I'm very glad to see now the number has crossed 50 easily. So it's always good. Now, I will just talk a little bit about what success means. Success actually means happiness. And if happiness comes to you, then you are successful. If you are trying to be successful but not feeling happiness, that means something is missing somewhere. So you have to really search deep within that you are successful in material terms, which means worldly terms, but you are not happy from within, then success is incomplete. That means you could be a top cricketer, you could be a top professor, you could be a top officer, could be a top businessman, but ultimately the journey within is what counts. And if you are at peace with yourself within, you are calm, you're looking forward to each day, you are boisterous, and you are energetic, that means that you are successful. I will give the example of a Golgappa man, and he stands in Chandigarh by the roadside, and he's a poor man. And I used to cross him when I was in the government in my Sarkari Gadi, and the driver used to cross, and I would look at him every day in the evening when I was crossing. And people, 2-3 people would be standing before him in cycles. Normally the rickshawala or the labor class would stop and have his Golgappas, very poor man. And normally the car person would not stop and have his Golgappas. I would always see him smiling broadly from ear to ear, very broad smile all the time. Very rarely was he not smiling. I used to wonder, what is the correlation between material success and happiness? This man looks so happy. And I must pull the leg of Mr. Donald Trump by saying Mr. Donald Trump is the most powerful man in the world. Doesn't look happy ever. Corona or no corona, never looked happy somehow. So personality type which is happy will be happy from within. And I actually wrote a middle on the Golgappa man in the Tribune. I write a lot for Tribune earlier. Now Hindustan Times, I have a column. So I wrote a middle on him, and I went and stopped my car one day, laminated that printout of the middle, gave it to him. He was surprised that I have a fan in a Sarkari Gadi. Initially, when I stopped the Gadi, he thought I have come to remove his Golgappa stall, but it was not my job to remove any stalls at that time or any time. So I told him that don't worry, I will have your Golgappas today and I'll take a picture with you. I'll try and share that picture towards the end of this webinar, and we will see how the correlation between true happiness and material wealth or success is actually very little. What matters is your attitude. What matters is your inner makeup. What matters is your inner journey, your inner peace, your calmness. If you are happy from within, an attitude of happiness will give you tremendous joy. Let us take the case of a grandmother in Himachal Pradesh. Somewhere Solan is, of course, a very advanced district. Let us say somewhere high above in, let's say, Rikong Pio, I don't know whether that's in Himachal, above Rodu in the hills, really deep into the hills, Lahore Spiti perhaps, really deep into the hills, and a grandmother who has never seen any wealth, never watched television, maybe never even seen a smartphone, poor lady, grown up as a poor woman, had children, had grandchildren, is about to maybe die in a couple of years because she's turned 90 or something. He is always happy, lived a very happy life, and never morose or sad or looking downcast. So there is no correlation virtually between material success and happiness. The attitude is what matters. If you are teachers, and you are teachers, most of you, then teachers have a lot of opportunity to create happiness in themselves as well as their ecosystem, their students, their colleagues, their families, because you are involved in a creative life and a creative career. A person who is working in a factory, in an assembly line, and all he has to do is pass one particular part of a machine which is being prepared, which is being manufactured, he has to just scrutinize it and pass it on. His job is only that in the assembly line. Creativity is not much a part of his job. His job is more with precision, with exactitude, with perfection of the part which is coming, and he has to have an eagle eye. But he cannot really find creativity in that work. And a teacher with 60 or 40 rather students in the class can have many creative moments, cheerful moments. A lot of decision making is involved. how to speak, what to say. There is a child who's late, a child who's truant, a child who is indisciplined, a child who is special, a child who is outstanding. There are so many reasons for you to react and respond in a different way. It is a very creative. How you teach can be very creative. How you prepare your lectures can be very creative. How you actually speak, which stories you relate in class, anecdotes, can be a very creative person. Nowadays, you are all online and you are in webinars and you are speaking on camera. Again, it's difficult and different, but Atul and I have been speaking on camera for the last 3 months or more, and we have found it to be quite interesting and joyous. If you fall in love with the change, only then you can be happy. If you keep on resisting the change or cribbing, then you may not be so happy, because you are basically made, man is made for changes. One day we will all go back to school, and you will go back to school and you will start teaching in the class. And I'm quite sure that the restrictions which are there will last only for a few months in school once you go back, and gradually we will go back to the earlier times in terms of learning at least. And blended learning will continue. Camera teaching, online teaching will also take place, but mostly it will be again classroom teaching. Because ultimately, if you remember your own school days, the best times were when you were with the boys and girls in class, standing in the line, going for assembly, going for tiffin time, running around in the playground, reading a book together, or in the class making a joke or laughing a little. All these times are memorable. And hopefully, all our children will go back to these happy school times and college times soon enough. So what happens is that we have to be having an attitude of creativity and positivity. Then we become fulfilled in our ambitions to be successful. Because success comes from within. And Atul has already mentioned my book, so I must show it now. Later, I'll show you another special book. But this is Finding Success Within, which is also the topic of our webinar today. 52 life skills for young people. 52 life skills for young people. Finding success within. Very important to read books. And if you can find this on Amazon, you'll be able to read it. You can order it. It is not very expensive. It is for you as well as your youngsters, your own family, as well as your students. And finding success within is basically about winning the inner battle, the battle of life within. Very, very important for you to conquer the devils in the mind, conquer the fear in the mind, and become creative and positive and cheerful. Whatever profession we are in, we have to conquer that. And teaching is a great profession. We have to actually, as a country, we have to realize that teachers are outstanding people who are actually creating the future of the country through the nursery of schools. And it's very important for us to all get together and improve our educational parameters. I'm going to request Atul to come in now and show us a film perhaps on Shoolini and add his ideas on finding success within. Atul.
Thank you, Vivek. What a beautiful topic for the day. You spoke about that success and happiness are not linked, Vivek, and I would like to disagree. Because every research says that happy people are successful. So there's a huge benefit of being happy within also, that you also tend to be materialistically successful. And this is not me saying, it's a research done by Harvard Business School, where they tracked 3 generations of people starting from the 1920s and asked this question to people 80 years later: what made some people succeed and some people fail, despite the fact that they all started at the same point? And the answer, Vivek, was happiness. And then they probed the question, what gives happiness? And the answer was again very simple. The answer was being with family, being with friends, being with your community, inspiring others to do exceptional things, being in meditation and spiritualism are really things that make you very, very happy. And if you're happy, you're successful. And if you're happy, you're also healthy. So as for this research, Vivek, they figured out that people who are happy tend to live up to 80 years, while people who are not happy typically will 70 is really their average age. And even if you reach 80 and you're unhappy, you end up being very, very ill and you're not really enjoying old age. So being happy is the most important thing. Inspiring others is a great way to be happy. I think we're so lucky as teachers that we have the ability to inspire other people. We have the ability to change other people's lives. And that's what the beauty of teaching is all about. You're all Corona warriors, teachers. You're doing an amazing job inspiring your students, making them successful. And I'm sure that all of you would feel a huge sense of happiness within. At this juncture, I'm going to tease all of you with a small video of Shoolini. I'm very proud of where we are. Shoolini, we started 10 years back with a very simple objective, Vivek. You know that our only objective is to inspire students who come from different backgrounds and make them super successful. We work with lots and lots of students from the lesser privileged backgrounds, all different backgrounds, of course. And we believe that inspiring spaces create inspiration, which then in return create inspiring people. I'll talk about Aman, a great student, later on towards the end of the show. But right now, I'm going to present a small video about Shoolini. Here it is. May I, Vivek?
Please, please.
So Vivek, that was Shoolini, and it sort of inspires me. It's my purpose in life to give back to the students, and I'm sure that's true for all of you. And it reminds me of a quote by Jeff Bezos, the richest person in the world, and I was reading about him yesterday. He basically says there are two sets of people: people who run for money, the mercenaries who work for money, and people who work for a purpose, people who are happy within and work for a purpose. And the irony is that the people who work for a purpose and are happy within are the ones who also make the money, and the ones who run after money don't. So I think if we also want to be happy, we need to be finding success within. If we are successful within, we are happy, we are satisfied, we'll also see so-called materialistic success. Vivek, over to you.
Thank you, Atul. Very good thoughts and absolutely wonderful video of Shoolini. Great thoughts. I would also say that children who are studying in the schools, they are often driven by marks. And everybody tells them, get more marks, only then you can actually succeed. But if you look at it, marks are not the only thing in life. And marks coupled with all-round capabilities, creative skills, sports, music, art, photography, These are the things which matter. And to be ambitious is good. There's no harm in being ambitious. There's no harm in being wanting to be more successful in material terms in the world. However, that inner journey and the inner perspective and the inner happiness has to be. I don't say that you have to be poor to be happy, but if you are poor and if you are not getting where you want to be in the world in material terms, even then you can be happy. And success cannot really come to the most powerful or the most rich or the most famous person in the world until and unless that person is at ease and balanced from within. So there is a quote by me in my book, which is life is not about marks, life is about making a mark. So if you make a mark, that means you have something special to contribute to the world. You are able to give back to society. You have to really make sure that you are not only contributing to your family's welfare and your own welfare, but also to society. So one of the 7 C's that I often talk about is compassion. And compassion is something which, if it comes at an early age to children, and they are helping society in whatever way they can, by tree plantation, by teaching, by monetary contribution, by effort, NGOs, that means that a young person who is not only looking for a successful career is also able to find success with it. And it's very, very important. The other 7 C's also, I'll just quickly run through, not go elaborately on them. They are courage, character, creativity, calmness, cheerfulness, contentment, and compassion. Which means that if we have these 7 C's, I'll just repeat them quickly again, just for your benefit. C for courage, character, creativity, calmness, cheerfulness, contentment, compassion. If we have these kinds of qualities within, then we are well on the way to being successful. And the students in your school are already, as your school is based on the teachings of Aurobindo Ji, the Guru, the great Guru, it is possible for them to imbibe spiritual and cultural and traditional values while being in the modern world. So a very balanced upbringing is possible for students of such a school, which is based on a spiritual foundation. I have been to the Aurobindo School in Chandigarh, Sector 27, I think it is. And it is absolutely a wonderful place. I know the chairman, Mr. Arvind Mehan. And it is wonderful that you all are also imbibing the same principles. And it is also important that children are taught to meditate from a very young age, because meditation is something that makes for happiness. And Atul also mentioned those who meditate. There are people who don't meditate throughout their lives. There are people who start meditating at the age of 60 after retirement or 65. And there are people who start meditating early. A calm person typically knows a little bit about meditation. In the middle of the day, when things are going haywire, lots is happening in a school, in an office, in a hospital, in a marketplace, anywhere. When lots of activity is happening, to remain calm, to retain that calmness, that balance, is something which is a great quality. If you meditate morning and evening, you might find it easier to remain calm. Paramahansa Yogananda, author of the autobiography of a yogi, said, "Be calmly active and actively calm. Be calmly active and actively calm." Here's the book. Great book, and it's always part of my life, and I read it every day a little bit. I've read it 7 or 8 times. Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. And in Shoolini campus, we have a beautiful library named after Yogananda ji, and it is something which inspires. So great books also inspire us. As teachers, we often feel that we did our studies in by college. Now it is time for us to prepare our lessons and teach and check the homework. That's fine. That's good. If you can read a book along the way, any book, autobiographies, spiritual books, life-changing books, fiction, anything that interests you, Take out time to read even today. And students who read will also be much better off. I often say that when I meet young people, I can always make out very quickly that this boy or this girl reads books. Not only because the boy or girl is a topper, may not be a topper, but is a book lover, is a reader. A reader will always stand out. And if that child is also equipped with all-round capabilities, studies, as well as all-round sports, or music, or art, or literature, as I said, it's very, very important for that child to be that way. And you become much more creative, much more content and happy in your life. I'm going to tell you a story now. And that story is around the life of a person who went to Harvard. And this person went to Harvard to study, found in his 2-year course over there great success, and came back to India from the course and became very successful in his career in business. But the values, and Atul had already mentioned the Harvard study on happiness, that he imbibed in his education from Harvard came in handy for him throughout his life. What was one of the things that really mattered? One of the things that really mattered was the ability to think differently and to express yourself without fear. Somebody who is allowed to express himself or herself without fear. Otherwise, this fear is always with us. And that somebody who conquers this fear, or at least reduces this fear to a minimum, is totally successful. So a person who has been taught that way, that always question things, you can ask questions, you can always be curious, you can question the norm, you can find an alternative for anything that is happening. That is a person who is successful. Fear is something which actually stifles us. And Paramahansa Yogananda says, when you're pressing the accelerator of your life, if worry is a part of your life, you're always worrying, then you're also pressing the brake of life. So brake and accelerator cannot move, you can't move forward. So you have to really conquer these worries and fears, and students especially, who are under competition pressure, under a lot of stress of tension, of pressure of performing well, getting more marks, getting that admission, getting that college degree, getting that job. They have to be backed and told that you have to calm yourself down. Life is not about that first admission to a college. It doesn't make or break a person. It can help, definitely helps, an institution helps, but it is not going to be a disaster if that child does not get into the valued college which he or she is trying. So be soft on the children that way. And parents also need to be counseled. To conquer fear and worry is a great purpose that must be achieved. Because to be successful in anything and to find success, we need to conquer that fear. Edmund Hillary conquered Mount Everest and said, I didn't conquer the mountain, I conquered myself. And there was an English batsman who also became captain of England, Andrew Strauss. And Strauss used to say that before every match, I tell myself repeatedly, I make myself believe that I'm going to score 100. And he was a very prolific batsman, scored many hundreds. He said, I will myself into believing that I will conquer all fears and succeed. So The Secret is another book that you have read probably or heard of, Rhonda Byrne, The Secret. He says the law of attraction prevails. So whatever you think will happen. So Strauss believed in the theory that I think I'm going to score a century and I make myself believe it. So then I go and play and score. Now the opposition bowlers learned this and they said that Andrew Strauss, what if we believe we are going to get you out on zero? And we strongly believe that we are going to get you out on zero. So it's not only a matter of belief, it's a matter of performance on the field. But Strauss says, okay, one day I'll win, one day you'll win, but at least I'll get a lot of hundreds. So the point is that you will yourself. Willpower is something that conquers fear, and human beings have willpower. Our willpower can be used to create destruction or to create excellence. Willpower is something very magical. And if this virus, as is believed, has come from Chinese labs, if they have done it deliberately, then they have used the willpower and creativity to do it negatively, destructively. but it can be used for amazingly constructive purposes as well. We have to learn and teach in a similar way. One last story before I hand over to Atul, and I'm going to tell you about Arthur Ashe, because I feel that the attitude of gratitude is very, very important. Arthur Ashe was a Wimbledon champion, a black American who won Wimbledon, and he was on top of the world when he won Wimbledon, beating the likes of Connors and McEnroe, and he was celebrated. Wimbledon is the top tennis tournament of the world. And when he won, then he was celebrated and feted, and everybody was applauding, and he was on the papers, front page, and TV, and lots of glitz and glamour. After about 15 years or something, he was dying on his deathbed. He got letters from all over the world. He was critically ill with an ailment. And they said, "Why is this happening to you, Arthur? We wish it was happening to someone else, not to you. We feel so bad. We pray for you." So Arthur Ashe wrote back to them. He says, when I won Wimbledon, I did not ask God, "Why is this happening to me, God? Now when I'm dying, critically ill, what right do I have to ask God, why is this happening to me?" So if we give up the attitude of why me, and why me, then we realize that God has good things in store for us. And Amitabh Bachchan said on KBC, he said his father used to tell him, "Man ka ho to acha, man ka na ho to aur bhi acha." What does that mean? That means God has a better plan in store for us. So faith and courage and conquering your fears and worries, becoming as perfect in this as possible, despite being human. We have our frailties and weak moments. Trying to be as perfect as possible in every quality. That is the endeavor of life. That's how we can be more successful. Thank you very much. And Atul, over to you.
Thank you, Vivek. I think one last thought from my end, which is my compliment to teachers, because you teachers make ordinary students extraordinary, ordinary students super successful in every way, whether it's inside happiness or outside success. I want to bring in the example of Aman, Vivek over here. Aman is a student at Shoolini. She's doing a PhD. She comes from Punjab. She was a difficult student in her undergrad and MSc. She didn't do very well, but some magic happened, Vivek. She did extremely, extremely well in her PhD. She has discovered a molecule that when enters water kills bacterial activity by 99.9%. This could change the way the world drinks water. She's been awarded the World Water Fellowship. More than 100,000 researchers across the world from the best universities of the world apply for this very prestigious award. And Aman has been very, very successful. So when I asked Aman, what made you so successful? She said, it's the inspiration that I got from my teachers. It's the happiness that I got from being at Shoolini, and also the collaboration and the creativity that I brought into my work. So I'm going to play a small video on the work that Aman has done, and hopefully you all will be as excited about this as I am. So Vivek, if you allow me, I'm going to play the small video.
Please go.
That was Aman for you. And Vivek, I'm a very strong believer that ordinary people can be made to do extraordinary things. It's all about that passion and the purpose that you need to bring it into them. And once that happens, magic happens. There's a very famous dialogue of Shah Rukh Khan, इतनी शिद्दत से तूने तुम्हें पाने की कोशिश की है कि हर जर्रे ने हमें मिलाने की साजिश की है. और वो शिद्दत हैप्पीनेस से आता है, वो शिद्दत एटीट्यूड से आता है, वो शिद्दत पैशन से आता है. I think if we can get this into our students, they can conquer the world and make India and the world a much better place. So thank you very much. That's from my side. I think we can get into Q&A. And my question, Vivek, before our dear teachers start asking questions, and we'll request you to please ask questions, is Vivek, tell us, why did you leave the IAS? And are you happier today?
Thank you, Atul. Yes, definitely happier today. I was pretty content and happy in the service as well. For 26 years, I was able to make a mark, I think, in some ways. As you said in the beginning, the IT park was one of the things. There were a few other things. And very important to give your best in whatever you do. But one day I felt that it is probably better for me to leave and be a motivational speaker, which I became in service on a weekend or once a month or once in 2 months. I would go and speak. I became a TEDx speaker also in service. 2 or 3 TEDx talks came at that time. 5 or 6 have come after my VRS. I find after VRS that I'm more creative, more buoyant and happy. And I'm able to give back to young people that energy and enthusiasm. When I get these messages from young people, whenever they watch these YouTube videos or whatever, they contact me and ask me, sir, how do I go about this? How do I go about that? Sir, you inspired me, or whatever it is, I feel delighted. And that gives me that sense that I did the right thing. And being involved with Shoolini University is also one of the joys of life. Wonderful.
Thank you. And the second question, which I've actually never asked you before, is most people will write books about being successful. I mean, that's the normal topic. While you wrote a book which is finding success within. And we love this topic, of course, and that's why we're here today. Why do you think finding success within was the right book to write, and why not being successful? So clearly it comes from your life. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely a very good question, Atul. And this is what I realized much later in life. So it wasn't the certificates or the promotions or the salary increase or whatever, or the name in the newspaper or the photo. It didn't really matter after a while. So it became, these things became, part of life, but and some people may never achieve them. But you are, when you realize that there is something else to life, and that something else actually involves the inner mechanisms, the inner youth, if you might call it, the fight between the bad and good, the evil and the best within you. And the qualities of head and heart, when they start winning over the tendencies which are otherwise disruptive, then you start winning the battle of life. And if people are successful in their careers, yet they are also giving back to society, creating happiness, any organization or company or institution which is not only doing very well in its endeavors financially and otherwise, but is also contributing to society and spreading cheer and creativity and making, as you say often, ordinary people into successful people. As an organization, that organization is achieving success in many ways. And an individual can also do the same by inspiring others, by being, having won the inner battles or winning the inner battles. One is able to handle life much better and be an example for others, be a role model. So I think that is true success. And that's why I wrote about that in my book.
Fantastic. Before I get into Q&A, and we have a few coming in, one from YouTube and a few over here on Zoom. Vivek, tell us about your spiritual journey a bit. I know you speak a little bit about that, but I'm very keen that the teachers get to know about your spiritual journey.
Thank you, Atul. This is a very good question again. I actually became spiritual more than I ever was after reading the autobiography of a yogi. And that's why I keep it with me most of the time. It is on my phone also. And Nina, my wife, actually started meditating 5 years before me, or 4 years before me. And she started going to the meditation center in Chandigarh after reading the autobiography. She told me, read it. Then I started reading it casually. I would go and drop her, sit for 5 minutes. So I realized there's something in it, and it pulled me. And I realized when life knocks you down, it is good to have a spiritual uh, uh, kind of anchor. And if you have that anchor, then you are leaning on the guru or the spiritual teachings. You can read something that uplifts you. You can meditate. So meditation is actually the key of my spiritual life, anybody's spiritual life. So I practice Kriya Yoga, and we'll write down the website for you if you like. You can practice Kriya Yoga, learning the techniques of meditation, and you can easily become spiritually centered. Being of Aurobindo school, you already have that advantage. So I have found, as Atul asked, in my life, that becoming spiritual has really made me able to handle challenges of life, as well as become content and calm. And meditation leads to physical, mental, and spiritual health and growth. So it's very important.
Excellent. I can only say that Vivek has been prodding me towards this path, and it is amazing to meditate. So probably if you have the time, for 2 minutes, we'll do that, Vivek. Sumanjeet ma'am is asking a question. And I think this is such a relevant question. How do we motivate students for reading books? I think we live in a world where everyone is on the computer, on the mobile. We are watching video content, but not reading the type of books we would use. We used to, Vivek. In fact, I was speaking to a small kid. They have not even heard about comics like Tintin and Asterix and the others that we grew up on. So how do we do that, Vivek? You also run a toddler school, so would love to hear this.
Yeah, my wife is the principal of a toddler school, and reading is a habit they try to revive in them. The point is that a teenage child who has not been in the reading habit from childhood will now find it difficult. But what you can do with them is to make them read books of their interest. Supposing, I find sports very inspiring. Supposing there is Sachin Tendulkar's autobiography, or Virat Kohli, some book has been written on him, or PV Sindhu, Sakshi Malik, or a great sportsman like Messi or Ronaldo or Federer or Tiger Woods, whoever is inspiring to these kids, if they read about them, then perhaps they will get into the habit of reading other books also. So first, we need to introduce books of their interest, fiction also. They like we used to read Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys and detective stories. So that got us into the habit of reading books. Once you start reading those kinds of books, then you might branch out into autobiographies and more important books like, let's say, Robin Sharma or Deepak Chopra or global thinkers and writers, or Oprah Winfrey or something like that. So these kinds of things will attract them to books. And if we tell them to read boring books or dull books in their perspective, you say read about Indian economy or read about agriculture or read about facts from the villages of India, they may not be very interested. So you have to interest them.
One of the things which I have done on myself and a few students, Vivek, is show them a movie which is based on a book.
Yes.
And there are lots and lots of very, very good movies, both in Hindi and in English. And then leave the name of the book with them. So curiosity makes people read. So I just finished reading two books. One is the autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi, which I've read the third time now. And the second book is the autobiography of Babar Nama, and My Experiments with Truth. Two very amazing people. And sometimes I think Babar is not really understood, but what a difficult life he had, Vivek. Pretty much since he was 8 years old, people wanted to kill him. And the reason why he invaded India was because he lost Afghanistan and he needed a home. So he came, conquered India, and the rest is history. So up to the reign of Aurangzeb, the Mughals actually did an amazing job of ruling India, at least from a GDP perspective. So I don't know how much you know, teachers, but till Aurangzeb, India contributed to 25% of the world's GDP, 25% compared to 1.3% of the world's GDP today. So that's a very, very, very big change that happened. And my belief is our institutions of higher learning got eroded around the 16th, 17th, 18th century, and India could never capture the wave of industrial revolution. So we're now in the wave of digital revolution. It's an opportunity for us in India, Vivek, and hopefully the next 50 years will belong to India. And I think we've got some great leadership which is pushing us towards that. Anyway, Shikha ma'am is asking a question, and I think we've discussed this many, many times before. She's asking, saying, what do we do as teachers to de-stress ourselves? And we've spoken about this earlier. Teachers are working so hard, Vivek. They're not just teaching online, they're also taking care of the family, their mothers, their sisters, their daughters, daughters-in-law. How do they make sure that they de-stress themselves? How do they make sure that they have a sane mind at the time they sleep?
Wonderful. Good that you asked this question. And Atul and I often talk about this, how burdened teachers are and how these days they are even more burdened because of these online classes. It's different from normal days and they feel more stressed. So I hope today's webinar has actually relieved some of your stress. So basically, you need to find time for yourself. If you are going to be busy the whole day, which is normal, find two things. One, what all can you remove from your timetable? Is there a call that you make to your sister which takes half an hour? Maybe you can spend 10 minutes. Maybe that is giving you energy, but maybe cut down a little bit. Maybe there is a call or there is some visit or there's something else. So what I'm trying to say is find that half an hour instead of these things where you can spend on yourself, something you enjoy. Could be music, it could be reading, could be meditating, could be playing a game with somebody or whatever it is that you love at this stage of life. Once you get in that thing into life, then the day becomes more livable. You look forward to something, even alternate days. And if you can do these kind of things which you always enjoyed, then life becomes special. Then you're looking forward to that moment, and life is not so stressed out. So stress can also be defeated by meditation. We talked about meditation, and a lot of calmness can come if you practice meditation. You'll find even 10 minutes will help you. I can do a 30-second meditation, Atul, if you like.
Sure, that'll be so wonderful.
So maybe 1 minute. So we'll do a 60-second meditation. Teachers, what I follow, this is a very basic technique, not the Kriya Yoga that we follow, but it is something preliminary. So what we're going to do is to sit straight and focus our attention at the point between the eyebrows, which is known as the Kutas Chaitanya. It's the Kutas. And it is the center of consciousness, Christ consciousness or Krishna consciousness. And if we focus at this point, and watch our breath at the same time with eyes closed and spine straight. We'll just notice our breath coming in and out without controlling it. Just meditate like this for 60 seconds starting from now. Thank you very much. If you notice, you will find that your breath became very calm after about 45 seconds or something. Because what happens when we start noticing our breath, it actually quietens down, and that leads to a great sense of calmness. Your heart's pumping also reduces, your senses withdraw, and you are focused more on peace and calmness, and you are at peace. You're not sleeping. Hopefully you are not sleeping, but you are in a calm state, like being asleep while being awake. So this is a very preliminary technique. It's also a concentration technique. If you can concentrate on your breath, then you can concentrate on anything later. Children can also practice this. And you can also say a mantra along with the breath. It's okay, whatever mantra you feel in and out, you just say in your mind. And you will also find that if thoughts are coming, when the breath becomes calmer, the thoughts also start receding. And that it's easier to concentrate a little more after 1 minute. The next 5 minutes are probably easier than 10 minutes. So it becomes better and better. So try for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, but always have the spine straight. Very important.
You know, we normally associate spiritualism and meditation to Swamiji's and Sadhu's, Vivek. It's so lovely to sort of learn this from an IAS officer. Thank you so much. We have Chinmay Paswan, Chinmay Pavan asking a question. The question is, why is happiness linked only to success? And why can't we find joy in failure? And isn't that also the truth of life?
Yeah, so it's a very philosophical question, a very good question, larger question. And human beings, they look forward to things. If they don't happen as they want them, they feel disappointed. This is a natural human tendency. I mentioned the case of the Golgappa man in the beginning. I'll still see if I can find his picture. And I would say that on the ladder of success, worldly success, it is very, very easy to say that the man is a failure, because he's not able to make ends meet, probably earns about 300 rupees a day max, and it's difficult for him to raise his family. But he's happy, he's content. And there are people who bounce back from failure having learned the lessons. These days, Atul knows startup entrepreneurs, youngsters who have two failed startups and the third one is doing okay. They wear those failed startups as badges or medals. They'll say, sir, I have two failed startups and now my third one is, which means that they take pride almost in saying that. So it is good to learn from failure and move on. It is difficult to feel joyous when you fail. That you must understand. You're human. But after a while, you start realizing that this failure has taught me something. You actually feel happy moving on. That is how you can.
I think, Vivek, failure also helps us reconcile with more failure if we see it as an opportunity to learn. And I'll give a couple of my examples over here, which I've not even told you, but I've been fired 3 times in my life. Imagine you're the CEO of a company and your global boss comes and tells you that, okay, Atul, things are not working out. We have to let you go. It is a very difficult thing that happens, and it's happened to me, like I said, 3 times. The first time I was shattered. Of course, when you're not really fired, most of the times, the opportunity has not worked out. So I was working for a company called Watson White, which is one of the largest consulting firms in the world. I had joined as India CEO. I'd been there for a year. Things were not working out there had been a financial downturn. And they wanted me to move to Hong Kong, which I refused. And of course, I was let go, and I thought my world had come to an end. I found a job, and I found a better job in 6 weeks, a way better one. In fact, I started my own company called Everest Group. And then somewhere along the line, when I was in Switzerland, I was supposed to continue in with a company called Credit Suisse. And then again, there was a financial downturn, and I didn't know what to do. And I came back to India with a firm called Oliver Wyman, and I again found a job. The point I wanted to make over here is, if I lose my job today, or if I have to find a new job, I think I can do it in the next 3 to 6 months, something which is even better, because I have that confidence from failure. So failure and then succeeding is also very, very important for us to understand and be less stress-free. Friends of mine who've been in one job all their lives are so insecure. They believe that that is the start and end of their lives. Someone like you, for example, Vivek, for you, you've left the most aspirational services. I mean, big deal, right? And you're still so happy and you're still so successful. So the fear of loss has gone away. And I think that's what failure can do to you, Chinmay. So that's sort of my recommendation, that take failure as an opportunity to learn, as an opportunity to succeed beyond what you had.
Yes. Atul, can I just show the pictures of the Golgappa
Absolutely.
man?
We are waiting to hear and see the Golgappa man.
So let me now show you one here, which is when I met the Golgappa man, he was looking a little nervous here because he didn't actually know what I'm going to do, or I was trying his Golgappas. He looks a little nervous, but I asked him to smile in the next one. And here is the next one. This is a roadside vendor at Chandigarh. And he's
Where
quite
exactly does he sit in Chandigarh, Vivek?
So he's near the Saint Kabir school.
Okay. So this is next to the golf club, I guess.
Next to the golf club, yeah, near the golf club. Here's the third one. There he is now. So when I saw this smile of his day in and day out, I would wonder why this man can smile like this. And the breadth of his smile is interesting. People in Chandigarh or Patiala will have plastic smiles with 40% smiles. So they will notice who is watching. This is a full smile. And another person who smiles like this, and I'm very fond of him, is Barack Obama. At the other end of the spectrum, Barack Obama smiles exactly like this. So without the toothless grin. But now you see the example of happiness. Which is not really.
Our common Swamiji Swarnananda ji also smiles like this.
Also smiles like this, absolutely.
Amazing. Just looking at him gave me happiness, and something happened. I got goose pimples. Amazing.
Infectious. Yeah.
Absolutely. Anyway, I think we're coming to an end, and it's been wonderful talking to all of you. I think there are a couple of more questions. Gurinder ma'am is asking a question. She's saying she's a big fan of yours, Vivek, and she's been following you all the while. So there's a question. She's saying, my question is, how can we make a start to change the mindset that has been there for ages with the students to be successful rather than finding success within?
Yeah.
So that's the question. And how can teachers start and make a difference?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for following my talks and videos and writings. Secondly, to change mindsets is something which is difficult because children have come, or we have come from a particular background, a certain upbringing, a certain way of thinking. To change a mindset is very tough, but it can be done through inspiration. And inspiration is one word that perhaps we didn't use much today, but we are talking about inspiration all the while. And it is something that can change mindsets, because suddenly the child is inspired by a visit to the school. Somebody came, some speaker, some performer, or you showed a film of a sportsman, and suddenly that goose pimples, as Atul is talking about, come, and you feel that, yeah, I can also do this, or some great topper, achiever. So children can be inspired to change their mindsets positively.
Fantastic. So Vivek, what a lovely discussion. I always learn so much from you. I am so thankful to you for being here today. I think before we close, I would like you to share your last thoughts.
Thank you very much, Atul. It was a really enjoyable discussion. Very nice to be talking to about 60 teachers of the school, and I'm sure the school will do very well and is doing very well already. And the principles by which it is formed, they themselves are about the same as we have been talking: meditation, spirituality, positive thinking, calmness, goodness of heart, helping others, compassion, all these things, finding success within. Very important journey within. So all the best to you all. And I think Atul and I would be happy to take questions from you later. Also, we've given somewhere we'll keep in touch with you on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you like. Read my book, Finding Success Within, if you like, and share it with children also. And read the autobiography of a yogi. Read any books you like. Please start reading. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek. We also had Nirja ma'am, the principal of the school, with us. So she's been listening to us. Thank you, Nirja ma'am, for this. And thank you, all the teachers. We so wish we could do this in person, but I think we have to rely on technology at the moment. Once things get okay, Vivek, let's plan a trip to Patiala. I've heard it's a beautiful place. By the way, I went to Patiala only when I was a small kid. So I'm going to come to Patiala, and I know there's a home there for us. So we'll come and visit you, and we'll also love you to visit Shoolini. It's beautiful out here, and we'd love that if you would get your students and stay with us for at least one night. So with that, once again, I, Atul Khosla, say thank you to you from Shoolini University and Ideas That Matter. Vivek and I were so happy to speak to all of you. Be happy. Don't be stressed. Just conquer the world. Have a great day. Bye-bye.